creating something new, innovation. So it's not routine. Just like what you've been experiencing every Saturday, diba? There's something new, diba? So, Pam, I think, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, interesting days in the lives of STEM, women in STEM. We now move to our part of the program where we actually ask them questions. So, speakers, to prepare for this part, we invited the girls to prepare questions ahead of time. So, yeah, we introduced you earlier. Iya was able to introduce herself earlier too. So then we have selected some questions to ask you guys. So, okay, you ready? So some of the questions we don't have names for because meron na.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
We're able to identify
good.
them. Yes, so the first question, so I would like to call on Miss Irish Alisa Pelias. Yes, siya pala. So the other one was a teacher. So, sige. So Irish, please.
Good morning, everyone. My question is, how did you get through the obstacles that you faced when you chose a career in STEM?
Louder. How did you? Yeah, come closer to your mouth.
Oh, sorry.
Again, try.
How did you get through the obstacles?
Louder and closer to your mouth.
How did you get through the obstacles that you faced when you chose a career in STEM?
How did we get through the obstacles?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, there are different types of obstacles that I faced. The first obstacle was when I started the engineering study and information technology. We were 8 women and in total 217 students. So there were 209 men, right? So the first obstacle was how to maneuver through this very male-dominated world. And at the start, it was not so easy because the men who chose this study, they already were doing this, what you're doing today, as a hobby in their free time for years and years and years prior to the study. Whereas we girls, we didn't really have these types of toys. So we were fascinated by the world of technology. That's why we chose it, but we didn't have any prior knowledge. So there was this gap in knowledge. That was the first big obstacle for me. And for me, it meant that I had to put more time into my studies at the start of my studies. And at some point I realized I can also get help from the men. So that is like a blessing in disguise because you're just 8 women and men get tired of themselves at some point, right? So they started helping us and that was really worth a lot. They shared their experience, they coached us, they mentored us in the first year. That was really, really great, and I think that is something that we should try to foster, the bond with the male domination in the field so that we can exchange learnings. And later in the studies, we also help them because maybe at the start it's more about the tech skills, but later it's also about your soft skills. It's also about how you connect with the stakeholders, that you understand the use case well, that you understand the companies who are giving you the use cases, right? What's the objective? For this, you need other types of skills. You need to listen well, you need to understand. So for that, we could also return the favor to them then, right? At that point. And it really paid off. At the end, we were, out of those 8 girls, 7 of us finished the master's degree. Whereas for the boys, every year, 50% fail in the first 2 years. So you can imagine a lot of boys failed. Whereas among the women, only 1 person failed. So you have to show perseverance. This is actually, I think, the summary. You have to show perseverance, do not give up, and find your way such that you can create those win-wins with, the male-dominated entities. Yeah, and keep your passion.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much.
Hello. So for me, I had 2 major obstacles. The first obstacle was when I decided to go into IT I lived in the province, which is very underdeveloped compared to Metro Manila. So what did that mean? Bataan. And Bataan in the really old days wherein the internet was so slow and expensive. So what we had to do back then was, oh by the way, laptops were also expensive since you have to go to Manila to get that before. We had to learn how to fold in paper and then simulate how it behaves in paper. So that's really how it happens before. It's not as descriptive as right now, wherein you look at the functions, you already know what it does. Before, you have to code it all, and then you have to simulate it line by line. That's what I told you guys on day one, that you have to do it line by line when you debug, right? So that was a struggle, but like what Ms. Adrian said, perseverance. So even though it was an obstacle to be in IT without having a computer. By the way, I only had a computer when I was in my thesis days already. So that was 4th year college. So for my first 3 years in college, I didn't have a computer, and I was studying IT. But I'm so happy that computer studies is now super accessible unlike before. The second struggle is that, like Ms. Adrian, the population of girls in our school were so small. So like I said, we were only 6. And during that time, girls were looked at in the IT field only as designers. So we were supposed to be good at Photoshop only. We were supposed to be good at making our websites pretty, but not functional. So what happened is I was super inspired to prove them all wrong, to the point that I distinctly remember a programming challenge in the school. So when I won that, the announcer was like, unfortunately, our winner is a girl.
That is horrible.
So, and I loved that because for me, I am proving all of you guys wrong, because anything you do, especially this is software, you're not gonna like carry loads of things. So anything they can do, we can do, of course.
Better.
So, and super small thing, my inspiration was Mulan. So, so I'm like, oh, if she can be a warrior, I can be in IT, okay. So that's it. Mostly perseverance and not unending fighting spirit.
Wow. Ma'am, any thoughts or?
That's, yeah, so much good stuff from both of you girls, or both of you women. Thank you very much. Okay, Joel, back to you. Question number 2 naman.
Yeah, so I would say again, wow, because, you
Yeah.
know, I could also relate as someone from the LGBTQ, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, girl power, of course.
Girl.
So our next question, okay, from Sarah. Okay, Sarah, please. Thank you. How do I pronounce your last name? Sorry, I'm just curious.
Koa.
Koa. Okay.
Koa. Sarah, can you tell us what school you
Yeah,
come from
sorry,
and
I
how old
forgot
you
to
are?
ask. Yeah.
Your name, school, and how old you are?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Akwak, and I'm 14 years old and from Las Piñas National High School. So my question is, what was your motivation to achieve or reach what you have now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, aside from Mulan. Aside from Mulan, I think the first motivation that I actually had was in my first day here in Metro Manila. And then what happened was, the moment I graduated, that was the end of March, I made sure that by the end of April, I already had a job in Manila, even though I had no one here. So what inspired me was the first time I saw tall buildings, and I was like, I want to live there. And ever since that that moment, I knew that I needed to follow my dreams, even if they were difficult, because in my head, if I started way in a very underdeveloped place, and I'm already at the point where I can actually see the buildings, and to me, I was young at that time, I don't think there's anything that can stop me, because I already did the first step, which is to get out of my parents' place, my parents' house, my comfort zone, and actually go to where I thought I needed to be. So in my head, I kept saying, sayang naman if I don't see this through. And now that I am in my kinda older years, my motivation is really to be happy. So how am I happy? When I see other girls or other people happy. So, and to me, one of the things that makes other people's lives comfortable is tech, basically. Whenever I see someone frustrated about something and then there's a tech solution that we can provide, that makes me happy. So that's a very simple approach to it. So, yun lang. I just want to be happy.
For me, I really wanted to change the world and do it with tech because I thought tech was really cool, right? I mean, just as a topic, it's cool. It was my passion. And I thought there is so much power in tech that we did not unlock yet that can transform the way we live completely. Not just small changes, but a big change can be created with tech. And that's why also during my studies when we had like projects with companies, with externals, I was looking for projects where we can make a difference. Like my first project was for hearing aids. How can we make those work better, that people with hearing deficiencies will get to hear better and be more part of society, for example. The second project was to help in the detection of breast cancer so that radiologists can spend more of their valuable time on the difficult cases, and then the easier cases that the computer program can already analyze can just be shown, and they just are quick with, yeah, right, that's nothing, or that's it probably, so next stage for the diagnosis, like that. And my master's project was for power plants, river power plants, to make sure that we have a good balance between the environment, the fish living in the river, the vegetation in that river, and also the energy that we need to produce for us to have enough electricity, right? So I distinctly chose those projects so that I can work towards making a difference.
Thank you.
Yes, so may I just also acknowledge that Liza was from Eusebio Eusebio High School, tama? And it's located here in Pasig City also. So yun, so yeah. Yeah, that's the girl who asked the first question. So let's proceed to the next, our third question from Lara Nicole Saludo. Okay, so Lara, please.
Hello and good morning everyone. I am Lara Nicole Saludo. I am also from Las Piñas National High School. And my question is, who or what pushed you to be the person you are today?
Many people in my life. Probably the first people were my parents, because I was, for a long time, I was not sure if I really wanted to go into tech with my studies, because I was very interested also in psychology, for example, also in law. And then they were saying like there are so many people studying that. And if you also like the tech part, you should give it a try. So they were the first ones to encourage me to go into that field. And then later, you know, so many people you meet on your path in your life, they all make a small difference to you. So I'm getting my inspiration along the way. I cannot say it's just one person. There are really many. And actually, you can also make a difference to other people every time you interact with them and you share your stories and your experience. Yeah.
You know, I completely agree. To me, I don't. Okay, I'll be candid about this. One of my inspirations are the groups of people who, not that they didn't believe in me, but they saw that this is where I'll go. This is the only level I'll achieve. So that became my encouragement, basically my rocket fuel to go way beyond that. And then the other set of people are the really good people who took a chance on me, basically. Sometimes in my life, across the years, all I needed was just that one person to tell me that you can do this. This is something you can do. If you can't do this, at least you tried. So that's what made me brave, basically. You don't need an army of people to tell you. Sometimes it's just this one person that you care about, or a small number of people who know who you are and who you trust to actually tell you that, no, you can do it and you're not alone in this. So basically it's everyone. It's the good people and the not so good people. Alright, that's it.
Thank you so much. Okay.
So I am hearing, Joel, that people you meet every day, people who are already in your circle of life, your parents, people you meet here and there. It doesn't have to be like a fancy event, or, you know, inspiration comes from all of us. So we have that capability to inspire other women ourselves too. I've often spoken about, last time I was at Sir Joel's event, I spoke about turning and pulling. So turn, if you're the one who's successful, you're in front, you want to turn around, pull the next person over, so that you always turn and pull. So that sounds like what you guys are doing. Thank you for that. All right. Was that my question now? Are we at number 4?
Next set would be yours.
All right. Renante Marquez.
Sir.
Oh, Sir
Yes,
Renante.
sir.
Welcome, sir. So, yes, please ask your question. Do you
Hi.
have it, sir?
Yes. Hi, good morning. I'm Sir Nan. You can call me Sir Nan from Caloocan National Science and Technology High School. And don't worry, my question is not about the competition between the male and female. My question is just, how do you manage your life, specifically the balance between professional and personal stuff?
So work-life balance.
Yes, but work-life balance.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
thank you, sir. So to be honest, what I have, this was actually Nine's expression. What I have is work-life integration. You know why? Because I love my work so much. So it's in the point wherein the lines are kind of blurred, but in a good way. Because with that, I don't get tired. So because I love what I do so much, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother my household whenever I'm watching something or I'm resting and I'm like, oh, this is what I should do at work. Okay. And then I go back to playing games. So
She's a gamer.
yeah. And then to balance that, of course, even if I have those ideas while I'm resting, I put them aside. So I write it somewhere, then I put it aside, and then I continue with my personal life, which is to rest. Basically to play games and volunteer here. And then spend time with my friends, because that's also important. But basically, like the ones and zeros, when it's work mode, it's 1. And then inverse of that, sometimes when I'm at work, I think about games. So that happens. But that's the thing, you have to establish your own boundaries, however you look at it. So for me, it doesn't bother me as much. One of my friends, it bothers her to the point that she has to establish that 7 p.m., no more work. I don't think about work. For me, it doesn't work that way. So there's no one size fits all. What may work for me may not work for you. So I encourage you to find that for yourself as well.
For me, I had to think about that very consciously, actually quite early in my career after finishing my studies. And the question I asked myself was, do I want to be more successful in my career than in my personal life with my family? Do I want to play a big role there or not? Or is it the other way? Do I just want to have a job that pays my bills, let's say, and then I focus more on my family? Because in those two cases, it would be easier to decide, right? Then I look for a job where I just stop thinking about work at a certain time, and the rest is family. And that certain time is not 7 p.m., but probably 5:30 p.m., like that, right? Or if work is really very important, that will dominate, and I will not stop working, and other people have to play a larger role in the family. So for me, when I asked myself this question, I wanted to be successful or play a large role in both places. And I could not find another way but have success in both areas of life by having flexible, let's say, work hours or integrated work-private life. So every time that I would have a new job or a new manager, I would immediately be very candid and also share that both parts of my life are very important, and if it is okay that there are some times that I would want to go to like my kids' school, attend, a play, or be involved there, and therefore I will work also like off hours in the evenings, for example, or early mornings or weekends, like that, so that I can still have this balance. And this is what actually worked out. I did not encounter a single manager who said no. Every manager was supportive, and they were mainly men. No, I think I never had a female manager. So all of my managers were men. Yeah, male-dominated field, right? Yeah, and if you are open, I think at the start, and you also show them that you deliver, it will be okay. But you need to ask yourself this question, because this will give you the right means to drive the conversation. If you don't talk about it, then you will find yourself being pushed into a certain corner, and then it's harder to get out of that, right? Take control of your work life, take control of your personal life.
So a lot of it is being upfront, deciding for yourself first how you want to do this work-life balance, and then be advocates for your own self. Yeah, it sounds like that. All right, next question is from, thank you, Sir Renante Marquez, for that question. We now have a question from Mary Ashley Ignacio. Mary Ashley. Yes, we like your dress.
Yes.
Women empowerment.
I'm Mary Ashley R. Ignacio. I'm from the city of Mandaluyong Science High School, and my question is, what original or new work have you done through your job? Did you develop something new?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll mention one thing at Philips, and then also something for the bank. So at Philips, we were developing a headband that you could put on when you're sleeping, and there would be sensors in that headband. With those sensors, it would capture your brain signals. Then my team put in place an AI model that was embedded in this device, and it could compute which sleep stage you are in. You have different sleep stages. When you have like when you're dreaming, REM sleep, you have lighter sleep, you have deep sleep, right? Deep sleep is very important for recovering. All those sleep stages are actually important, but deep sleep is the one that people who get less sleep, they suffer more from not having enough of it, so they don't feel fully regenerated the next day. So what this device did is when it detected that you're in deep sleep, it stimulated you by auditory sounds. It stimulated you, and that made you have like deep sleep. And therefore, with the same amount of little sleep, let's say if you actually would need 8 hours of sleep, but just because of your life you can only get 6 because you have to commute for a long time, or you need to work really a lot, for example, you don't get the 8 hours, you only get 6 hours, you will feel equally rested the next morning because of this extra stimulation. So that is one device that we contributed to, which now also astronauts are using, and which I think the idea is really cool. That was at Philips. At the bank, there are many new projects that we are working on where we are creating prototypes for. We have different domains. Maybe I would just mention one domain, which is the voice analytics domain. And there we have done experiments where you can use, already voice biometrics, right? Where you can authenticate people with your voice. You also know that there are HomePods where, like with Siri or Alexa, you can speak with, but it doesn't always work equally well, also not specifically for the banking field. So we did several experiments that it can support like Tagalog, Taglish, and English. And this is how we can prevent fraudsters who will impersonate as you, who know maybe the answers to your security questions, or who can like fish the OTPs from you and then just tell the customer service agent, like, oh, it's 356123. We will detect that that's not you because of your voice profile. And you can also engage in, like, you can do faster transactions. It all becomes much more natural. And this is what I think makes a difference. It's more natural, it will protect you better, it's more efficient and seamless for the customer. At the same time, you can speak the language that you want to speak. So this is not yet launched, but we have done lots of POCs on this, and it's in the pipeline to come out. I think that's one of the things that I am very proud of that my team established.
Thank you.
Hi. So, for me, I'll tell of a super old app that I'm super proud of as well. So, I'm not sure if you guys were already born, but around 10 plus years ago, who here knows VR and AR? Who here is like knows of MetaQuest and the VR games? So back 10-ish years ago, not counting how many 10 above, okay? 10-ish years ago, I was tasked to develop a mobile app for the promotion of a movie. Basically, in the mall, there's like a big installation of one of the characters of the movie. So what you would do with your phone is if you scan on certain parts of the character, the parts of the trailer will appear, and even the character models will appear, as if they're with you. And back then, that was a really big deal because AR was in its infancy. So that was something that made me really excited. For a new-ish project, one of the cutting-edge things here in the Philippines that we did was I was part of the development team for ING, so the first digital bank here. So I was very fortunate to be a part of the team who developed it and launched it here. What I heavily studied in is user experience and front-end development, making sure that the app was intuitive, something easy to use, something that's something that actually makes it easy for someone to do banking. Because before ING, you really had to go to a bank, or your app can only do balances or transfers. But here, you don't need to go to a physical store or a physical place. You can get a bank account. Now in my work in CodeGo, one of the things I'm proud of is developing the curriculum for career shifters to actually be able to go into tech in as soon as 5 to 6 months. So that's a full web stack curriculum. That's a full stack curriculum. They would be able to create an app or a website end to end, from design to development to launch, in 5 to 6 months. So that's it.
Program changes. Okay, last question from Jennifer Apan. Thank you for that
Ayan,
question.
ma'am.
From Mary Ashley. Salamat.
Another teacher
Very good question.
Yes.
And our panelists have created so many beautiful things and interesting things. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer Apan, science teacher of Eusebio High School. So this is my question. How does AI help the beauty industry or in general? Yes, about beauty, because we are girls.
Well, we have a friend, Unix.
Oh, yes.
She's very heavily looking into how to create experiences of, sorry, my answer was kind of magulo. Basically, she works in the shoe industry. So she's in the process of exploring how tech can help basically find the perfect shoes for you. So there are a lot of things that we are exploring. So another that is, I know you guys use TikTok, so there are filters there, and some companies in other countries actually use that as well, so that you can basically product fit already. So if you're looking at a certain cosmetic, the filter will already be applied so that you already know what it looks like.
I tried those. They don't work very well.
Usually I use it for glasses.
For glasses.
I use it, yeah, lipstick, it happens, yeah. Yeah, I don't like it, but it's there.
But I guess it can improve.
Yeah, it will improve, definitely, because a couple of years ago, AI is not as smart as right now.
Yes.
But for AI,
There you go.
Well, indeed, for makeup, L'Oreal had this app where it would overlay, also augmented reality, it would overlay different types of makeup. So it would be really fast for you to choose which product you want to buy from them, because you can see how you look like, right? How it transforms you. So you would know, okay, I want to have this shade or that shade. You're not in the shop like putting everything on your face. You can just like have the computer program simulate that, how you will look like. And I think that's how they created a lot of positive reputation for their company at that time. Another example is when I was working at Philips, we were working on a laser device for hair removal, actually your entire body, but usually it would be used like on your legs or armpits, this part between your nose and lips. Yeah, these were or arms also. And you should actually not, like you would slide the device across your body and then it would shoot like those lasers and kill like the hair follicles, so then you will not have hair growth for some time anymore. It will greatly reduce it if you use it, I think, for 6 weeks, something like that. But you should not go over the same part of your body and shoot repetitively the same part, because then it will also damage your skin. So therefore, AI was used to create like a map of your body so that it can recognize where it has been already, like a vacuum cleaner, let's say, right? The robo vacuum cleaner, it won't always go over the same part. It knows already it was there, so it will go through other parts of your unit. So same here, it will just go and shoot over the parts that it has not shot yet. So that's another example for AI. And another one is that with specific light, like different colors of light, you can highlight things like folds or the brown spots, you can highlight them more, and then it will be easier to detect with AI what is the progression of these folds. So whenever a company is trying to sell like cream and will say like with this cream you can reduce your wrinkles already, you'll see effect after so and so many weeks. Yeah, so then you can take those pictures under the certain light conditions, and it will be easy to like measure how deep they still are, for example, or how much it decreased, or how much it worsens over the years. Yeah, some examples. Does it give you an idea?
Yes. Thank you.
All right, let's give them a big round of applause. At this part of the program, we welcome Dr. Ria Canlas.
So we have a special
Yes.
inspirational speaker also in the house, guys. So Dr. Ria Canlas. So I actually kindly join us on stage. So actually, impromptu lang to. If you will search for Dr. Ria Canlas profile online, so you'll be amazed kasi ang dami niyang awards. In fact, she's an inventor. Siguro she could talk more about herself with this session kasi sabi ko, how do I summarize her bio note kasi ang dami niyang invention. In fact, she's a civil engineer, ang undergrad niya. Then more siguro ma'am, i-share niyo na lang ma'am with the girls. Sige po. So syempre, we know pag civil engineering kasi male-dominated din, just like Miss Ate Iya and of course Miss Adrian's here, profession are of course quite male-dominated. But of course, we'll know more about yung mga inventions si Dr. Ria and specifically yung Polite, ma'am. I'm really curious about the Polite. So siguro you could share something about Polite and of course something that would make the girls more inspired in tech. Lalo na, di ba, tech din, male-dominated din po. So without further ado, so can we give the floor to Dr. Ria Canlas? Sige po. Good morning po again, Dr. Ria Canlas.
Yes, pleasant good afternoon everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. I really have many engagements. In fact, after this I'll run to Nueva Ecija to meet also young people. Pero I cannot let go of this opportunity to give inspiration to very young lady like you. Okay. So, what are my hats? You know guys, yung pag-wear ko ng hats, gusto ko lang i-share yung journey ko. When I was a young kid, my dad, an architect, forced in me to become a civil engineer. And so when I was young, I used to play like acting like a civil engineer, which parang I've mistaken it to be an architect. Come college. In college, in engineering, you have the majoring subject at third year. So on second year, when second year is about to end, I have to decide if I really wanted civil engineering because I don't want it. You know, we're studying concrete, steel, and wood. And this is something like, I think, not my passion. And thus, every time I will tell my dad to shift, my dad would literally be physical on me. Kung ano yung hawak niya, at the time nagsalita ako, ibabato niya sa akin yun. And I think I've felt, naramdaman ko yung pinakamasakit na palo at sabunot, etc. Yung, alam niyo yung umiiyak ka na ayaw mo huminto. Yung gumaganon ka na. No? I said to my mom, I hate that, I want to see that, ganun. But you know what? Parents knows best. Aside from the things that we wanted to do, which we can do at a certain point in time. Okay? So thus, I become a civil engineer and now impacting the construction industry using my own technology, Polite. Itong si Polite, I was able to come up with construction materials that will impact my industry. Alam niyo, kung you are solving a problem related to the degree or course that you wanted, automatically you're impacting your industry. Sa katunayan yan, nang dahil sa aking innovation, no? When I started, I started to be a contractor. Alam niyo yung contractor, no? Yung magawa ng mga building, no? Ang paborito ko po ay mag-install ng mga hollow blocks. Yan ang aking mga kontrata. At the age of 23. I am my own contractor at the age of 23. And that time, the economy was so down because that was during the EDSA revolution. Construction, ang tanda ko na ba? Nagugulat siya! And so, construction is not good. So, a lot of people go abroad. Tapos doon ako nag-start na to be on my own. Pero I decided na, you know why I put up my own business? Because my boss will tell me, it's so hard to get a promotion in a male-dominated industry. No? Because ang mga projects ko, typically mga high-rise. So, imagine mo yung high-rise na building na ganito. Ako yung nagkakabit ng hollow blocks. Okay, so imagine nyo itong magulo to, it's not yet constructed. This is a big area na madilim, mabaho, maalikabok. Lilibutin mo yan, hindi mo alam kung bigla ka nalang hihilahin, or baka may mangyari sa'yo masama. No? So, naalala ko nung bata ako kapag I am to go to places na madidilim, binibigyan ako ng isang alalay. So, nakikita nila parang may difference, parang unfair. Pag lalaki, walang alalay. Pag babae, may alalay. So, talaga nagkakaroon ng discrepancy yung women at saka yung men. And of course, take note also that you have to be very strong as a woman because in a male-dominated industry, we are always taken advantage of yung mga advances ng mga boys. Kailangan tayo ay matalino, alam natin kung advances ang ginagawa. Every March, kapag Women's Month, talagang I always talk about advances of boys being done to women. So, balik tayo sa story ako. So, ayun na, naging contractor ako ng 23, but then, I go back to knowing more and na-in-love po ako sa research. Research has been to me a serendipity, bringing me to something very big. So ngayon, I level up. Una research, mahilig lang ako mag-research, magkaroon ng statement of the problem, tapos magkaroon ng solution, di ba? Now, I level up to innovation. 2017, actually 2008, I started my own experimentation using my own money. Ang tawag po natin doon, bootstrapping. 2017, I decided to come up with my startup company in the technology of construction. So yun na, nag-iba na yung world ko. Nagkaroon ako ng personality. I've become known. At least one of the faces of innovation in the Philippines. No? At nag-join ako ng contest, guys. Kasi pag nag-join tayo ng contest, it validates our solution. Tama ba yung ginagawa ko? Talaga bang ang ginagawa ko is disruptive? So, when I gained contest, I was the first recipient of the Good Design Award in the Philippines, where you can also be preparing for that contest. It's done biannually. And that contest gave me a very big break. 2019, I won the first contest that I joined. Kinabukasan, left and right ng aking invitation to share my journey. Sharing my journey. Binigyan nila ako ng scholarship. So, nagkaroon ako ng business mindset. Kasi, ang hirap sa ating mga tech people, hindi tayo marunong magnegosyo. So, we have to level up our research into innovation. Ibig sabihin nun, i-offer na po natin sa merkado or sa ating mga clients yung mga ginagawa natin. Pag tayo ay nag-research, at ito ay nasa laboratory lang, research lang yun. Pero once na inlabas natin sa laboratory at ginamit ng ating mga supposedly adapters, ito na po ay innovation. So it was a big, tough journey for me as an innovator, awards, recognition, etc. until I was appointed by the President of the Philippines, President Bongbong Marcos, last June 30, as an executive member of the National Innovation Council. So, yung trabaho namin, no, it is a very new law, Republic Act 11293, Philippine Innovation Act, we are the highest policy-making body when it comes to innovation. At lalo sa tech, no? Kung makikita nyo yung ating tinatawag na National Innovation Strategy Document, I'll given a copy, ayun, ni YASTI, okay? This is the roadmap of the Philippines in the next 10 years. And kung babasahin natin, kung magkakaroon ako ng opportunity to have a bigger crowd, makikita natin ang future ng isang bansa ay nasa tech. Okay? Yung mga tinatawag nating signals, what gives patterns, what will happen in the future. Lahat po ng mga signals na nakalap natin ay nasa tech. Gaya ng mga e-commerce, ng mga all-online platforms for education, at marami pang iba. Okay? So, driving force kayo of what is supposed to happen in the future. Now, baka sabihin nyo, civil engineer lang ako, no? But you know what? What is my bread and butter? Alam nyo ba yung bread and butter? Ito yung pinagkukuhanan ko ng malaking pera. Wala naman masyadong pera sa academia, sa research, no? Ako ay nagtayo ng BPO company 2008. Okay? So, as early as 2008, I'm already in the virtual world. I do virtual meetings, etc. I do both voice and non-voice accounts. So, call center, at the same time, non-call center. So, I know the virtual technology. At I remember during the time when I decided, kasi ang market ko po ay, siyam po yung orasan sa office ko eh. Siyam yung 4 time zones ng US, at saka yung 4 time zones na inukot ko yung Europe, tapos meron Dubai, and then 4 na time zone. Tapos yung pinaka-siyam na orasan is Philippines. So during the time, I learned the art of technology. Kasi as a business owner, my virtual clients, my clients are all US and Europe, is mandatory na marunong ako mag-handle ng technology. So during that time, yung pag-explore ng mga Google Maps, no? Pag-explore ng G Drive, Google Drive na hindi pa alam ng ibang tao, okay? At marami pang ibang technology, text technology, chat technology na pinagsasama-sama namin to serve my client abroad. Hanggang sa nag-decide ako i-offer sa Pilipinas because that time, wala pa masyadong may website. Okay? So at 2010, I started offering services to the Philippines. At bukod sa paggawa ng mga website and custom softwares, I'm also into technology solution. Pumapasok na po ako sa systems integration. Kasama na doon yung ino-offer ko sa market na load moment indicator. Ito yung nag-apply ng program sa mga crane para pag nagbuhat sila ng mabibig, di may crane nakikita niyo sa mga buildings, no? Para hindi sila na-force, hindi sila nagtutumba, hindi sila napag-create ng accident. So, kinocompute na namin yung load para safe ang mga tao sa construction. And I've been doing, nagpalit ngayon ako, company RPMH IT and Engineering Services, wherein I now enter into auxiliary works. Sa mga buildings po, marami po kami buildings na minamaintain throughout the Philippines. Kami po yung naglalagay ng access point, yun yung internet access, fire detection alarm system, fire suppression, queuing system, door access, lahat po ng mga automation functionalities na meron sa buildings, ino-offer po namin yun. Okay? Including the maintenance. Kaya medyo magandang feel dito, guys. Because this is not just a one-time deal. The deal is as long as the building is ongoing na ginagamit. Kasi kailangan natin i-maintain. Nowadays, technology is already part of the basic component of construction. Okay? So, nung araw, sanay kami na meron lang kaming architectural, sanitary,